Your zip code can predict your health much better than I can as a doctor just doing a draw of blood on you. The Duwamish River, compared to another waterfront community within the same city of Seattle, there's 13 years difference in that life expectancy in the same city.
There's really a very clear overlap between environmental hazards and social inequities. Minority populations tend also to be those that have the highways running through them, the factories that are polluting. It's lower income folks and it's minority groups that tend to bear the brunt of the air pollution health effects. We know COVID is especially partial to individuals that have these underlying health conditions. The air you breathe is just there. There's no individual control over what that looks like.
My family has been here since the 1950s. After my family had purchased property, then it started to be heavily industrialized, polluting our air and making money off of our health, basically.
The Duwamish Valley has very high exposures of air pollution because of where we are located.
They're on one of the biggest Superfund sites in the nation, which is the Duwamish River. That was contaminated with toxins in the World War II effort that Boeing headed up to make a lot of ships and a lot of planes for war effort. They just dumped it into the river. It's polluted the neighborhood for us, but it's also polluted very sacred grounds that the Duwamish people valued for centuries prior to the arrival of Europeans.
So now the West Seattle Bridge has been closed, and all the deroutings are coming through the Duwamish Valley. So it's additional of 100,000 cars through our neighborhoods, bringing more pollution. We were concerned of COVID impact and how nationwide communities like the Duwamish Valley, where there's a lot of environmental injustices, but high concentration of people of color, Black, brown communities.
All my neighbors, all my family members, they have asthma, other respiratory issues. A lot of them have unknown respiratory issues. They keep going to the doctor and they don't know what's wrong with them. They just know they have complications breathing.
That chronic stress, that chronic strain from the language barriers, the poor health, I'm not insured, I have to pay the bills, I'm hustling 2 jobs. It manifests in high blood pressure, in obesity, high cholesterol, heart attacks, early death. We have historically high rates of asthma, cancer cluster also, many cases of breast cancer.
My mom is a senior and my grandmother is elderly. I've had to explain to family members that they can't come in and visit. They have to follow COVID protocols, wearing a mask, staying outside, being 6 feet apart. I just don't want them to be sick. The more I read about it, the more scarier it becomes. And I know people who have had it and who have survived. They're saying that their lungs are extremely impacted. They can't walk as much as they used to. Their life isn't normal anymore. And I don't want that to happen to me or to anyone that I know.
At the University of Washington Edge Center, we have a what's called a COVID-19 rapid response grant right now. Within King County, all of the neighborhood areas that had a higher than 10% census positive rate, 89% of those had a greater percentage of people of color than the county average, and 92% of those had higher poverty rates than the county average. So overall, there are higher COVID rates in South King County than within the city of Seattle, but the disparities within the city of Seattle itself are also very pronounced. South Park and Delridge neighborhoods and parts of Rainier Valley. And then those communities with high COVID also experience overall poor health outcomes, including shorter life expectancy, a lot of social and economic inequities, and currently insufficient access to free testing services. That area is also where we see the highest environmental health disparities. You can clearly see the overlap in the red on the maps. I think that this has ironically given us an opportunity to really examine the intersectionality of health and race and investments in our community or lack of investments in our community.
Welcome you all. Thank you for being here. I hope everyone is enjoying summer in a very weird way that we're living now.
We do a lot of community engagement, community participatory research, community science projects. We have been working on empowerment for our youth, specifically youth of color.
You were the ones who helped us sample all those trees and make sure that we get results, that we can have an action and improve the quality of our community.
I grew up in South Park and I did not know what was going on like 3 blocks away from my house. And so once I joined the Duwamish Valley Youth Corps, it was a huge eye opener. I learned that South Park and Georgetown have high asthma rates, that we have the lowest tree canopy within Seattle. It was just so many injustices that I didn't know were going on.
The name of this is the moss study. So the moss study was collected on trees in the community. We would take little debris that wasn't moss and we would separate it, and then from there we would weigh it, and that process then was sent to the scientists so they can test the quality of the moss. So the purpose behind this study was making sure that we could show people that our air is polluted in the communities of South Park and Georgetown.
I would like to see more resources, meaning more grocery stores, like a post office, police station. I would also, more schools. I would also like to see more green walls and trees. Well, right now we're working on a podcast to help raise awareness.
I think we should plant more trees. So that way we can have a cleaner air for the children and the youth around us, because this is our home.
I see each home has a different story. My friends, my family, my neighbors, their safety is my priority.
I think this is the time to listen to those voices fully.
If you're going through something, don't just sit there and watch. Don't be a bystander. Advocate for yourself, for your parents, friends, community members. Everyone's going through a rough patch right now.
Comcast Washington is proud to help our neighbors stay connected.